Good day, I am Lagrimas and together with my partner Ann Lumbreras, we are here to report Midsummer by Manuel E. Arguilla.
The writer. Manuel Arguilla was an Ilocano writer and born on June 17, 1911 at Barrio Narebcan, Bawang, La Union, and the majority of his stories are set in here. In 1933, he graduated from the University of the Philippines with a Bachelor of Arts in Education. He joined the UP Writers Club and later became its president, as well as the editor of the university's literary apprentice. He married Lydia Villanueva, an Ermita, Manila-based English writer. Arguilla is best known for his short story How My Brother Leon Brought Home a Wife, which won first prize in the Commonwealth Literary Contest in 1940. During the World War II, he secretly organized a guerrilla intelligence team to fight the Japanese. In August 30, 1944, Manuel Arguilla was captured and executed at Fort William McKinley, now known as Fort Bonifacio. Next is the summary of the text. It is a noontime and a very hot day in summer. Manong was dragging his cart towards the well when he saw a young woman who happened to be Ading. Ading, at that very moment, was fetching a bucket of water from the well. Manong observed the details of the very sweet and fresh young lady, which is undeniably attractive. At first, Ading did not notice Manong, while Manong, on the other hand, was hesitating to talk or even approach her. Ading left without giving a word to Manong, but a moment later, she returned to where Manong was. On the second time around, while Manong was eating, Ading approached him and stared at him. They had a little conversation, and suddenly, with a bit of Ading's clumsiness, the bucket of water spilled in his food unintentionally. After that incident, Manong helped Ading in filling the jar again. Ading examined how masculine are the features of Manong, which made her attracted to him even more. The sun is almost everywhere. It is then that she invited Manong to her home, which made Manong more interested to her. Midsummer closes with Manong following Ading in the direction of her house, where there is a shade of relief from the heat of that day.
Historical or social issues in the literary text. Midsummer shows a version of Malakas at Si Maganda, Manong being masculine in nature as portrayed in the story, and Ading as the beautiful and captivating woman. Another targeted area by Manuel Arguilla is about the Filipino men, how before, in the form of Manong, most were a gentleman. Another trait of traditional Filipinos was being hospitable, which Ading portrayed, by her inviting Manong, a person she just met, to her house offering shade under the hotness of summer. In the light of social class, it was mentioned that Ading was poor, as she has rice and salt for a meal, while Manong has shrimps, boiled egg, rice, salt, and sugar for a meal, which makes his standing on the social class somewhat average. The characters in the story are mainly Manong and Ading, which is Kuya and Neneng in Ilocano respectively. Manong is a strong, masculine, traditional binata or torpe, while Ading is young, surprisingly sweet, and fresh, traditional dalaga, and is also a hospitable girl. Other characters mentioned in the story are Manong's bull and Ading's mother.
Next one is the setting. The unsummarized story quoted on the right stretched a sandy waste of low-rolling dunes. This story happened during the course of summer, and it might be at Ilocos Norte, which possibly in La Paz to be exact, since these where the sand dunes are. Also, Ading and Manong had their unforgettable encounter in a rural community near a village well. The conflict. There are two conflicts in this story. First is man versus self. The two main characters had a hard time taking the courage to talk to each other. The conflict arises in their own minds, fighting on what to do and what consequences might go on after. The second conflict is the man versus nature. In this story quoted, he pulled down his hat until the wide brim touches his shoulders. He crouched lower under the cover of his skirt and peered ahead. The road seemed to writhe under the lash of the noonday heat. It swung from side to side, humped and bent itself like a feeling serpent, and disappeared behind the spur of a low hill on which grew a scrawny thicket of bamboo. The main character is fighting against natural forces like weather. This quote can be seen at the first paragraph of the samurai story.
The theme of the story are first, attraction during the first meeting. The story is a not so special meeting between a man and a woman that might have a promising relationship in the future. Both characters' conversation is plain, just like the landscape setting, but it was filled with passion and emotions that captivate the readers easily. Second is the traditional Filipino courtship. The story may not directly point out Manong courting the young lady Ading, but the events during their first meeting is a starting point on how the binata and dalaga usually fires the urge to be with each other. Manong being kind of torpe and Ading being hard to get are some of the conservative attributes that typical Filipino men and women have. Third is sexuality. Based on how the author described what the characters observed with one another, the details were kind of sexual in a way. How Manong perceived the wetted breasts of Ading and how Ading was amazed with the masculinity of Manong's body. Last but not the least of this presentation is the message or the lesson of the story. First, it shows a perfect picture of a traditional Filipino courtship. Though attraction may be anywhere, but it always leads to respect to one another. And second is how a traditional Filipina would invite a suitor over to her house and introduce him to her parents. In the story we read that Ading mentioned several times how poor she was compared to Manong, on the food she has and the simple house that she lives in, but then and there at the story we see that attraction or love exists at all times and knows no social class, boundaries, or culture. That's all. Again, this is Hasete Lagrimas together with my partner Anne Lumbreras. Thank you for listening.